Hey Heavies, it's Big Man H here. Just thought I would give you a little update. It's been a bit slow lately, but this week I'm not doing our video. I know, kind of sucks, but we've got two guest contributors covering a subject that I've never really been majorly interested in, but one that they are fully knowledgeable in, and I'll admit I'm kind of intrigued to see what they go with. But these two guys are brothers. Their names are Paul and Josh, and they hail from the UK. They're the two brothers from another motherland I've got. So please make them feel as welcome as you've made me feel welcome, and I'll check you later.
What's up, Heavies? This is the UK branch of Heavy World coming right at you with a brand new Heavy Rangers video. I am Paul, and this is my brother, Josh, and we
Josh.
have been long-term Power Rangers fans for many, many years now. And we figured what better way than to introduce ourselves to the world of Heavies, Heavies world, if you like, than to bring you our top 5 Ranger seasons. That being said, let's shift into Turbo and get right into this.
Oh no, that was terrible.
It was awful, but it was a lovely tie-in.
It was,
So we've got a lot of content planned for everybody for this, but the first thing we thought we'd do, as it's our first episode, is to bring you our top 5 favorite Ranger seasons of all time. So that goes from the very start, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all the way through to Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, which is coming soon.
I think fall this year. Yeah,
Yeah. So and let's not forget, we've also got the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always Netflix
reunion show. Yeah, that's coming in
sure to
April.
be awesome.
Oh, it's going to be good.
I literally cannot wait for that. But
It's going to make me feel old, but seeing as Mighty Morphin came out literally the year after I was born,
yeah,
so just it's just so mad.
it's crazy. It really is. So
Yeah,
let's get into it. We're going to go
yeah.
now our top 5 Ranger seasons of all
Our
time.
our personal top five.
Personal
It's
top
worth
5.
mentioning, yeah, because we have no authority to say this is the top five of each or sort of
Yeah,
thing.
this is entirely our own personal top
Yeah.
5s. We're probably going to differ in our top 5s, but hey,
I
that's
would imagine so. I know at least one that you're gonna love that I'm gonna hate,
the
but we'll get
we'll
on to
see.
that.
We'll see. So let's get into it. Top 5 Power Ranger seasons of all time.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off at number 5, and Josh, you can go first.
So this is number five. It should have been higher, but considering all the other ones I've chosen, I can understand why I rated it. But it's Ninja Storm.
Okay.
Uh, it was a it was a bit of a different one. It was the whole like Ninja Academy thing that really sold it for me. And then I think I'm not sure if it was the first one, but it's the first time I remember seeing myself that age, or the first time I can remember, where it was like a team of 3 Rangers first.
As
Hadn't really
to
seen
my
that
memory,
before.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
the first time it was like a
And it was just
yeah.
different. And then it was also, the whole thing of like, not only did they have the 3 Rangers at the start, but then they gradually built up to 6 by also introducing, again, a couple of
Thunder and the
evil
Wind Rangers.
Rangers.
Yeah. And
Yeah, the
Evil
Thunder
Rangers wasn't
Rangers.
a new concept by this point. It had been done several times before, but
No,
with
but the
Ninja
way it had
Storm,
been done was pretty well.
it hit differently
Yeah.
than Ninja Storm. It had a very different feel to them. It wasn't just a case of, oh, we've just brought in this guy who's going to be an evil ranger. No, they were trained to be that
They
way.
were, yeah, I mean, they were under the control of the villain of the series. But it was still the fact that they came from a different ninja school, and they made the villain side of it really believable, and then just getting through the whole storyline of them breaking free and joining the Rangers, and then later on with Cam joining the Rangers. Ninja Storm was just a
Oh,
great
yes,
fun series
Samurai
overall.
Ranger.
Yeah, the Samurai Ranger in the Ninja series. Yeah, it was
Not
it
to
was a
be
bit weird,
confused with the
but
Ninja Ranger and the Samurai series, people.
no, but we'll get on to that. Yeah, no, it was just a good fun series. I think it was also the first one they filmed outside of the US as well.
I think it was the first one in New Zealand. Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
you could tell because everything looked different.
everything was just different. And but yeah,
That's
I
not
mean
bad for them,
overall,
That's
overall, I mean as well, Ninja Storm is mostly because I love ninjas and stuff like that.
yeah.
But it was just a really fun series. The suits were cool as hell. Um, and yeah, it was just overall different to the normal sort of format.
And the Zordon character was a gerbil. Who doesn't love
He didn't start off as a gerbil, but yes, he was. He did end up a gerbil.
Well, my number 5, this might surprise you, is Power Rangers Lost Galaxy.
That does actually surprise me. Yeah,
So the reason I enjoyed Lost Galaxy is because obviously at the time they really thought that In Space was going to be the final season. So a lot was
yeah.
done around wrapping it up and giving a satisfying end, or not as satisfying, obviously, because Zordon dying. But
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, that does put a bit of a downer on it.
they really thought that In Space was going to be the final season, and I thought, okay, if this is it, it's been a hell of a run. But
Yeah,
Lost Galaxy came in, and I personally think it provided one of the better of the shows we've had. I think the
yeah.
strong lead Red Ranger in Leo. I wasn't initially sold on him, but over time he
No,
grew.
he took time to get into the role.
There was the whole thing with Kendricks when she essentially died and was replaced by.
Yeah.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know, the reason for that is because the actress that played Kendricks was diagnosed with breast cancer and she had to take time away from
Oh, I
film.
didn't know that.
So that's why they ended up writing her out and bringing Corone in, the former astronomer from space.
I was going to say Corona was actually
Yeah,
not
Corone
only
is
she
the
was.
Corone is the first, to my knowledge, the only one that has been a lead villain and then become one of the Rangers.
I think she is the only one. Yeah, and she was also, if I remember rightly, Andros' sister.
That's right. Yeah, she was
Yeah. So,
KO-35.
and sister of the original Red Ranger, well, the only Red Ranger in space, and then Pink Ranger in Lost Galaxy
It kind
after
of
being
gave
a
a bit of
villain.
continuation as well. It meant the
Yeah,
story continued as we knew it,
yeah, exactly.
even just a little bit. So that was nice. Um,
Yeah.
and then of course there's the overarching story of the Magna Defender, who had one of the most
Oh,
horrific background stories I've ever
he
heard.
had them. He had a horrible background story, but his arc was amazing, and
Just
just
the whole way it was done with the Magnum Defender was just brilliant. It's so
yeah,
rare that they get something just right like that, but they really captured
yeah,
that
they really
role of
did.
the Defender.
But can we count him as a ranger?
Well, he is
Because
technically the sixth Ranger, so
he is the
I
sixth ranger
mean
of the
let's
series, but
also take
he's
into
not
account
actually a
that,
ranger.
but let's take into account that when Mike morphed, he did morph into the Magnum Defender.
Well,
So
that is true. I
for
suppose it'll
me,
count then.
he is a Ranger.
And he did have a Zord, so I
Yeah,
guess.
and he
Yeah.
was Magnum Defender. Are you going to argue with him? I'm not.
No, I would rather not argue with him.
I like.
Maybe not so scary in the version where it's Mike, but the original Magna Defender
Yeah,
before Mike,
yeah,
I
definitely.
would not argue with him.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
No.
So that wraps up number 5. Let's go on to number 4. What have you got?
So for number 4, this one will probably surprise you because you'd probably think I'd have it higher up my list, but it's actually Samurai.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Um,
that is surprising.
so the main reason I've chosen Samurai is because it was, as you may remember, it was like the first season that I watched after so many years of being out of it.
I think
Like,
it was the first one that you watched and you said to me, "Oh, this is really good. You should watch it." And I thought,
yeah, it was
okay,
because
not really
at the
watched this in a
time,
few years. I put it on and was just absolutely sold on it.
it's just a funny thing that at the time it was we didn't know this, but it was the first series back under Saban.
Yeah,
You know, away from the Disney era, back under Saban, and we didn't know that. And what hit me first was like when I started watching, I was like, okay, you know, because I like samurais and that sort of stuff. I play a
yeah,
lot of games that have a lot of samurai influences, and then just to hear the original theme tune, like but remixed in
yes,
a modern way,
yeah,
it just instantly sold it on me. And also, it was the first one where I felt that they really played into the theme of the Ranger.
mm,
Because, you know, let's say we have Ninja Storm, but they didn't really fight too much with their swords.
no,
Whereas Samurai, they fought exclusively with their weapons.
most of the time.
And yeah, most of, if not all of the time, was exclusively using either their samurai swords or a samurai, you know, related thing to it. So
Yeah,
to me, it was the first one that really sort of played into it. And then with the Zords and the transformation into that Shogun mode they had inside the Zords, that was brilliant. And also just the main thing that I loved about Samurai was the storyline that focused around Jaden and Decker.
yes.
Decker, of course, being the actor who played Cole, the Wild Force Red Ranger.
Being the first
But
person to go from main hero to a lead villain.
to main villain, there we go. Yeah, so there's a bit of a switch around from Lost Galaxy
Oh,
there.
switcheroo.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that storyline was just it was just great. It was just a really good storyline, and it you know they didn't do what they normally do with just like showing a little bit of the villain's backstory. They really got into
It
Decker's
really delved
backstory.
into Decker's
Yeah,
backstory.
they dived
It
into
felt a
Decker's
lot more.
backstory, and
It felt a lot more grown up, actually.
yeah, it did, and
That-
that's one thing why I kept going back to that, because it did just feel a lot more grown up than the rest of it.
it just had a lot of very different overall feeling. And
Yeah,
it's kind of gone backwards a little bit since
yeah,
then. But yeah, I think Samurai definitely had a more of a
and also the final point of it, it brought back Bulk. But yeah, that's why I love Samurai. It's just a brilliant series. It was the first one I watched after so many years.
So my number 4 is Power Rangers Time Force.
Okay,
And it was a tricky one. Between 3 and 4, I struggled to pick which one was going to go where. But I
yeah,
went with Time Force just because I feel that my number 3 pick is slightly better. But
okay,
that's not a slight on Time Force at all. Time Force
no,
is a personal favorite of mine. I love the
yeah,
whole backstory of, oh no, the Red Rangers died. We're going to have to go back in time to unlock his morpher. And then they're going to
yeah,
get stuck in the past and they've got to find a way back. But Rancic's already there and there, he can have it. The
yeah,
whole thing just really, for me, it tied itself together really well.
it did.
You had a strong, and I don't even don't get me wrong. Obviously, Wes being the Red Ranger, he was the de facto leader.
Yeah,
But for
of
me, he
course.
wasn't. For me, he was not
No,
the leader. It was Jen.
it was
For
100%
me,
Jen. Yeah,
Jen was the pink. The Pink Ranger was the leader of the Time Force scene for me.
yeah.
You also had Trip, who was pretty cool because he
Trip
did
was funny.
little bits in the future. Katie, who was ridiculously strong, and Lucas was also there. So
Yeah, yeah. He didn't really do much, did he?
well, he didn't have like a super ability like the rest of them seemed to. But
No, he didn't seem to. I don't know actually. I think he was just like, well, he was like a champion race car driver in their time.
big work.
But yeah,
But the other cool thing about Time Force was the sixth Ranger, and that was the Quantum Ranger. What I really
yeah,
liked,
that was a weird one.
well, canonically in Power Rangers, the sixth Ranger has always been like green or silver, or they've had a color. Quantum
But
didn't have. He
this
was
one was just red.
yeah, but he wasn't a color. He was just the Quantum Ranger.
Yeah, he was
I
red and
really
black, and his design was serrated instead.
I thought it was really cool. I thought it was very
It
interesting,
was a really cool
like
thing. Yeah,
a really cool way to keep a second Red Ranger, but also to just have something a little bit different. And
yeah,
the fact that there was the whole rivalry between him and Wes, Eric saying that it should have been him that got all the opportunities that Wes got, etc.
yeah.
But, there
The
was
real
an
jealousy.
overarching, jealousy between them. But when they
Yeah.
finally resolved that and worked together, they became pretty
They were an amazing team when they finally
They
worked
really
together. And
were.
you see it in a future series after they turn up as part of the, I think it was like the Silver Guardians or something they called it,
Yeah,
and it was Wes and Eric working together as the leaders of it. So they did really good with it.
that was the Forever Red episode they turned up in Wild Force, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah,
But another part of it that was cool was the fact that we all thought that Alex had died. But of course, this being Power Rangers, he barely survived the fight,
barely survived.
nursed himself back to health, and helped the Rangers from behind a particularly mysterious set of black glasses. Before
Yeah, I mean the whole
he
thing
was,
with Alex was a bit of a weird one as well, though, because it was almost like it was Jen's fiance in the year 3000, but he comes back to the year 2001, and everyone realizes that he's actually a not a very nice character.
yeah. Not to
And
mention, the
then
first thing he realized when he got back from year 3000 was the fact that no one lived underwater. I mean,
it's but not much has changed.
not much has changed.
No, we've all got gills now, and we wait for someone to drop the fish food flakes in. But apart from that, it's all fine.
But I also like the way that Rancic was reformed at the end
Yeah,
when he realized, it wasn't the usual case of the big evil is destroyed. It was like the big evil saw the error of his ways and
yeah,
wanted to repent for his crimes, which he would later do in Wild Force when he was fully cured of his
yeah,
status. So yeah,
yeah.
so
The guy who played him as well, Vernon Wells, I believe is his name, is just a fantastic actor too.
he's a very, very good actor,
Yeah,
underrated in many, many ways.
yeah.
So that brings us nicely on to number 3.
Yes.
We're going for this one.
My number 3 is Dino Thunder.
Oh, okay.
I adored Dino Thunder. There are so many reasons why.
Chief
Um,
among them, JDF.
Chief among them, definitely Tommy. You know, when you first see him come back as like a teacher and stuff, you're like, oh, okay, cool. They've given him a little, you know, a cameo thing.
They've
He
made
might
him
end
the
up being the,
mentor.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've made him the mentor, and then suddenly do they do that the whole thing? I can't remember what the villainess's name is, but she's like, aren't you a bit old for this, Tommy? And he's just like, you know, slaps the dino gem into the morpher and it's like, I don't know, I think I can pull it off, sort of
I
thing.
may be old, but I
It's
can still put it off.
chills. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I watched that
It's
literally about an
chills.
hour ago and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, and you know,
And
it's
as
just
soon as he
the
said the
team.
words Dino Thunder, power up, I just,
Yeah, honestly, there will never be another Ranger just like JDF.
no one
Honestly,
will
he's
ever reach the heights.
the only person that could get close to his heights now for me is Adam, um, Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But aside from that,
but yeah,
obviously, the White Ranger in Dino Thunder, I absolutely loved. So much so that, you know, right now I'm wearing the White Ranger hoodie from Dino Thunder. The storyline for it was great because I don't know if it's one that's been happened before, but I don't know if you remember, Trent was actually Anton Mercer's son.
he was, yeah. Or
And Anton Mercer was the evil villain of the show, Mesogog. And when he first got the White Ranger power, he was basically being taken over by it. So not only was he, you know, his father trying to take over the world and, you know, send us all back to prehistoric times, but he was also trying to fight
some
off
of
the White
Mercer's
Ranger
helping
power
him.
himself. And yeah, it just ended up,
It does.
it just ended up as a good, yeah, they ended up, what, the White Ranger?
Yeah.
I
So they're
think so,
like
yeah.
a good and an evil.
Yeah. And then just the team itself of like again like the whole 3-person team thing I really like because I feel if you've got 6 rangers or more it can start to feel really cluttered. So starting with 3 and then going to 5 I really like. The Dino Thunder powers were really cool, like the Super Dino mode, the Triassic mode.
Forgotten about Triassic mode.
Triassic mode, yeah, was a great one. It's just they added so many different elements to it that I've not really seen before. Like I don't really think I've ever seen a suit transform the way it has for Super Dino mode before Dino Thunder.
No, I don't think it had. Not from
So
that set.
it had that quirky element, and of course it was JDF's last season of being a Ranger. So just all those ahead, and you know we'd never seen JDF as a Black Ranger before, and the episodes they did with him going through his sort of like mind reality, fighting the Red CO, Red Turbo, Green and White. Well, I don't remember if you fought the Red Turbo, but
Yeah,
you
I think
fought.
it did.
Yeah, I think he fought every other type of Ranger he'd been, and it was just great for like, you know, at this point I was a teen and going sort of outside of Power Rangers at that point. To see Tommy come back, it just dragged me back in. I
It
was
did.
like,
It was
yeah,
a really
okay.
good way to just drag in.
Yeah.
And you know, they're going to pull this off again with Cosmic Fury in a month's time.
Oh, 100%.
Then we get the original Mighty Morphin guys coming back in. That's
Yeah,
pull everyone back in again.
exactly. It's just but yeah, Dino Thunder to me was just a perfect series in most ways, but I can't really tell why it didn't really get to my number one. It's more just a sort of a gut feeling I've got from the 2 that are left on my list.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, number 3 for me again might be somewhat surprising to you, but for me, number 3 is Power Rangers SPD.
Ah, okay. I knew it would
So
be in your list somewhere.
SPD is definitely in the list, and it makes it to number 3 purely because the 2 above it for me are stronger in terms of what they brought to the franchise. So
Yeah.
what I really liked about SPD was the way that the Red Ranger Jack was basically a criminal, but was
Yes.
brought into the fold and became the leader of the SPD Delta Squad. So
Yeah.
it was a very interesting one because from the start you're basically told that the Delta Squad is not the main force. You know, we
No,
all
there's the
have
Alpha
the A
Squad, I
Squad,
believe it is.
but what we didn't know was obviously was that the Alpha Squad had been corrupted and had become evil, and that the SPD Rangers
Yeah.
eventually have to fight them.
Yeah.
I cannot remember for the life of me the Blue Ranger's name.
Sky.
That's him. But
Hmm.
I liked the fact that he was quite a
He was angry.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He
driven,
was an angry,
but
confrontational character because he
yes,
desperately wanted to be number one.
he believed he
And
should be the Red Ranger.
I
And
mean, to be fair, you can understand where he's coming from, though.
yeah,
Like, he worked
to a
so
point.
hard to become number one, and then, realizes he loses out to a criminal.
But
Yeah,
I think for me, what I really enjoyed about SPD was just the storyline itself. There was nothing to really dislike. You had occasional
yeah,
glimpses of the Omega Ranger,
yep,
who
Sam.
turned out to be Sam, who was the kid that Jack helped earlier in the season,
Yep.
and somehow transformed himself into a ball of light, but still became a humanoid Ranger when he morphed.
Yeah, that was a bit of
Very
an odd one. I don't know how they really decided to just explain that, but it's certainly interesting.
Yeah. We had the introduction of temporary Ranger powers when Kat was given a 1 hour morpher so she could fight someone.
Yeah,
And just in general, I thought, one of the things I struggle with most in Rangers, and which is ironic because it's very much the thing that saved the franchise, is the Zord fights.
yeah.
Personally, I'm not a huge fan of the Zord fights. I think they can be okay, but I've never
No,
been truly drawn into one. But with
it's the problem.
FPD, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the Zords.
See, my problem with Zords is it always just feels like a thing at the end that they kind of have to tack on.
Yeah,
Um, Obviously for like toy sales and such, but it's always a thing of you watch the Zords and like if you watch how fast their enemy that's grown big, you watch how fast their enemy moves, and then you watch how slow and sluggish the Zords are, you wonder how on earth they ever get to win.
yeah.
I have the similar issue with Zord fights.
But like I say, with the SPD ones, I didn't mind it so much. I thought they
No.
tied together quite nicely. I liked the overarching storyline, and
Yeah.
of course, we had the Shadow Ranger taking on 100 enemies by himself and absolutely annihilating them.
Yeah.
Because
That was
it
cool.
cannot be overstated. Doggy Kruger is a fucking boss.
He is, and it's even more amazing how he can fight with his nose squished up in his
Yeah,
helmet like that.
but yeah, once again, it cannot be overstated. Doggy Kruger is 100%
He is
boss.
amazing, yeah.
Cannot beat him.
You cannot beat, no.
So
I mean, it's a dog that's a ranger. You can't beat it.
it's a dog's life. It's a dog's life.
It's a dog eat dog world.
So that brings us on to number two.
So I've actually just done a last minute switch of my number two.
Oh,
It used to be my number one, but my number two is now Time Force.
okay.
I'm not really sure there's much else I can really say about it because we kind of covered Time Force. I just remember, I think it might have been you who bought me the morpher for it.
Yeah, I bought you the morph.
Yeah, and I just remember watching it all the time, and it was just such a huge part of my life at the time because it was.
We actually learned the morphin pros.
We did, yeah. It's bad that we did, yeah. I think Time Force was one of those series until most recently that it was the first series I'd really been so invested in that I would be really upset if I missed an episode. Like, I just remember I was so attached to Wes as a character because he was just, you know, he wasn't like all the other Rangers, they were brought in as a team or whatever, like in Mighty Morphin, they were all brought in as a team and this sort and that. But with Wes, he was just literally a
Right
oblivious
place, right
guy.
time kind of guy.
Yeah, right place, right time, randomly selected as a descendant from another timeline sort of thing. And
They just so happened to land in the same town as.
just so happened to land in the same
What a
town, same
coincidence.
time as the guy they needed. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, the guy who played Wes, Jason Font, is just again, he was a great actor and he was a perfect pick for Wes. And
And he's one of the
it,
few that have actually remained like quite
oh
invested.
yeah, a lot of them tend to, just see it as another act job, which is fair enough. But there are a fair few, and Jason Font is one of them that realizes that he wouldn't probably have the great career he does without it. And he also has been doing a lot of work with JDF with that White Legend of the White Dragon movie that's coming
Yeah.
out. He's in that too. But no, the character of Wes was just like, he was a breath of fresh air for the Time Force team as well, because they were all very focused on their mission. They all needed someone to show them the ropes of the year 2001. They also needed someone who just needs to show them how to have fun whilst also doing the whole
He
Ranger
very
thing.
much changed their way of life.
It was also sort of the thing of like Wes was a very much a rich kid, a very much playboy rich kid, who was then humbled and not only became a hero, but also after that found his purpose in life continuing to protect the world with Eric.
Yeah.
So there were other elements as well. I mean, Jem was a good counter for his character. Katie and Trip provided a lot of the comedy elements. Katie chiefly using her strength to be able to provide those elements, and Trip just being Trip. They didn't really have a mentor, but Circuit was cool. The little robot owl.
Little circuit. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
And yeah, as you said earlier, Lucas was there too.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that's
kind of ironically, obviously you've chosen my number 4 for your number 2. Very ironically, I'm choosing your number 4 for my number 2, and that's Power Rangers Samurai.
nice.
Again, can't really go much more into what you've already said. A lot of it we've already gone over. It was the fact that it was more grown up, it was more true to the theme.
It was Saban's again.
Jaden, and it was back in the hands of Saban with the remastered music, the original theme. Everything.
Let's also not forget,
brilliant.
Even though it was only briefly, Samurai brought us our first female Red Ranger.
It did, in Lauren.
And Jaden's sister, Lauren.
So it was a very good, and it was the first time that I can remember where there was a sort of, well, actually no, there wasn't, thinking about it, but it's the first time I remember before going back and rewatching all later is that we saw like a romance story between two people that weren't the lead Rangers.
Oh yeah, of course.
You had the Green and Yellow Ranger sort of slowly each other, and I thought that was a nice touch as well because it didn't have to be the Red Ranger to get all the girls.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, we saw a similar thing in Cosmic Fury as well with the Blue and Pink Ranger. There,
Yeah. Although how long's that going to last? Now he knows that she's an alien with weird antennas.
Who knows?
Unless he's into that kind of thing.
You never know. You never know.
So before we get to our number 1 pick, we're going to do the honourable mention. So we both picked at least one honourable mention to say this is one that we would have put in it's maybe in our top 10, but not in the top 5.
Yeah.
So, Josh, go first. What have you got for an honourable mention?
So my first honourable mention was SPD.
Okay.
All the reasons we mentioned. I also liked that it was one of the first seasons I can actually remember. Again, I may be wrong on this. But it was the first season I remember that put alien characters in just normally. Like they were just there. They weren't special or there was nothing amazing about them. It was just, they were just introduced as a part of normal life.
Kind of had to be because it was all based in space and everything, wasn't it? So
well, it was all based in like 2 years from now. So there's a lot of stuff going to happen the next couple of years, if anything's to believe.
Stars.
Yeah. But again, with the whole Doggy Kruger thing, and I also just like with the face and the helmet thing, that always amuses me. But the real honorable mention for this series goes to the one character that I love most in SPD, and that was Bridge.
Yeah.
Bridge was a fantastic character. He was the biggest advocate for toast in the world because, as you remember, buttery. But yeah, he was the comedy element that the show needed. You had the seriousness in Sky, you had the storyline hook with Jack being the criminal sort of thing. I can't really remember what was going on with Z and Sid. I don't really believe they had much of a storyline.
I think Z was like involved with Jack's criminal.
Yeah, she was with Jack somehow.
Like Sid had her thing where she was just trying to make her dad proud, I think.
Yeah. But Bridge was like, again, with all the seriousness in the show, because, let's be honest, they were essentially a police force.
Yeah.
There was nothing in there really as a comedy element. There was nothing really there to say, okay, this is a goofball character, but that's what Bridge provided. Yeah. He was that character, and
he was what?
Yeah, he was just, and and later on when he appeared in, I believe it was Operation Overdrive, we find out that he finally became the Red Ranger, which was cool.
He did.
So that's why I've gone with SPD.
Yep.
That's my first one.
Honorable mention then is one that you've already picked in your top 3, in your top 5, and that's Dino Thunder.
Yeah.
For all the reasons we've already mentioned, the fact that the main reason it's an honorable mention is because JD.
Yeah.
I popped hard when I saw Tommy reappear in that first episode.
Yeah.
I popped even harder, like I said, slammed that black dino jump to Morpher and morphed into the Black Ranger. I was like, okay.
I mean,
I'm a kid again.
Let's also not forget in it. Let's also not forget in the in Dino Thunder the iconic moment where Tommy roundhouse kicked a T-Rex.
Well, there is that. I mean, who doesn't love that?
I know
If
it's
anyone
just
on
the
the
most.
planet is ever going to
If
get
it,
away with roundhouse kicking a T-Rex, aside from Chuck Norris, of course, who we all know
yeah,
made the dinosaurs extinct,
well, of course,
it's going to be JDF. You know,
yeah,
simple as
it's
that.
just. And again, another thing about Dino Thunder, which I just remember as well, it wasn't just Anton Mercer and Tommy that was involved. Zeltrax and I believe the lady villain as well. I can't remember her name for the life of me. I always used to know it, but I can't now.
Yeah, I know she was
But
Regina or something. She was the
yeah,
Scottish master, wasn't she?
that's it. Yeah, and they were all involved somehow with this passing of how they found the Dino Gem. So it was all
All
something that,
tied in.
yeah. And also it managed to tie in Ninja Storm as well, because in the very first few episodes of Ninja Storm, um, the guy James Napier who plays Connor, the Red Ranger, he is also in the first few episodes of Ninja Storm as a trainee at the Wind Ninja Academy. So also kind of ties into Ninja Storm as well, because
It's funny you should say that
he mentions his twin
because
brother.
it's funny you should say that because Cassidy, who was in Dino Thunder, was one of the evil
She
girls.
was, yeah, she was one of the evil twins
Yeah. Well,
in
evil.
Ninja
They were the
Storm as
comedy
well.
relief. They
Well,
were.
yeah, comedy relief evil characters. So my second honorable mention I've gone for is, I don't know if it will surprise you, but it's one we have just mentioned, is Dino Fury,
Okay.
because it started off as just a joke us watching it, if you remember.
I was going to say this. It kind of has to be there, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Because
it started off as
it's
a
basically
joke.
what started this.
It is essentially what started all this. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was. You came to pick me up, and we just couldn't find anything else to watch, so we put it on, and the subtitles were on, and of course it had the exciting theme
Lighting theme
music.
music.
Yeah, and we were just watching it, going, "Okay, this is terrible." But as we started watching it more and more, we were like, "Actually, this is all right. This isn't bad."
And we got, I mean, obviously,
Um,
there's always a bit of the, I want to say overacting, but
oh yeah, I mean, if at this point in time, if anyone's a Power Rangers fan, you kind of
you just roll with it
it's
because
not even it's not
essentially it
even the
is a
thing that you
kid's
have to accept. You just know that it's a kid show, so there is going to be like massive levels of overacting, akin to like at least it's not as bad as the stuff you get on like kids YouTube stuff.
Oh God, yeah,
At least it's not that bad.
yeah.
But yeah, no, there is obviously definitely some overacting in it, but overall, Dino Fury was a good fun series. It kind of I liked how it started to bring more stuff in about the Morphin Masters, because that's something that's kind of been a thing through the series, but it's been not really been relevant or not really been prominent throughout the entire series. But now the Morphin Masters were actively getting involved in things. We saw them on multiple occasions. Um, Not only that, they brought back Lord Zed, which is, even nowadays, he still looks absolutely terrifying.
And let's not forget
Um,
he's going to be the main villain of Cosmic Fury, which is
He is
awesome.
going to be the main villain of Cosmic Fury. And we also had the other thing of the bad guy turning good again. And not only that, giving us a new Ranger power in the process.
Yeah,
So that was a completely different new thing as well. Um, but yeah, no, it wasn't a bad series. There was a lot of it was a lot of comedy, because there was some stuff in it that was just like the Bulk and Skull type characters were just, in all honesty, they were just hilarious. Um, There was a lot of character development, although I admit some of it sometimes it did feel a bit repetitive. Like the amount of times the Blue Ranger had to basically be told to stop being a
dick.
knob in some ways. Yeah, you told me to tone down the swearing, so
And dicks.
yeah, he had to stop being a dick a lot of the time. But again, they did also face some more modern issues as well. Like, we had, I believe, our first openly gay character with
Yeah,
the
is
Green
it?
Ranger.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then, each character seemed to have their own story in the show. Like,
that's
it
true.
wasn't just following a different thing. Like, each character had their own specific storyline they were following, as
Yeah,
well as being a ranger. And it just, yeah, the whole thing just
that's a
flowed out
good
really
point. I
well.
actually hadn't thought of that.
I'm not really surprised that following this, we have a third series of it coming. It's the first one since the Mighty Morphin, and it's well deserved in my opinion.
Yeah, So the second honorary mention I'm giving, you're not going to like this. It's Power Rangers Mystic Force.
Let's just stop the recording now, shall we?
Now, give me a chance, okay? What I really liked about Mystic Force is that it was totally different to anything Power Rangers had been before. Okay, Power Rangers has always been something almost sci-fi, very
Yeah.
scientific, very sort of mechanical, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very
Everything about-
futuristic and sci-fi.
yeah, it's all very
Yeah.
very sci-fi. It's all to do with the morphing grid, which we all just instantly accept as something strange.
It's just something
scientific.
that's there. Yeah, like, yeah, okay, it's
I really liked about Mystic Force is that it took it all the way back. It was like, no, our powers come from magic. Awesome. I just loved that. I thought it was I thought it was a definitely different thing for them to do.
but did they need the
Brave.
capes?
I mean, I kind of like the capes.
That's the main offender for me.
No, I kind of like them. Again, you know, you had the sixth ranger come in, the Solaris Knight. He was cool. He was also played by the same guy that did Donnie Kruger, John Tewey. So
So he was a dog.
he was no, he wasn't. He was a regular human, Oberon.
Oh,
I really enjoyed the whole magic aspect to Mystic Force.
yeah.
The fact that the Red Ranger was looking to find his parents, and then it turned out his parents were the White Ranger and her husband all along. The husband had been evil for some time. I forget which character he was, but he was one of the main evil characters there to reform. Udonna was eventually the White Ranger again. She somehow lost her power for a while or something. And to be honest, I was saying this to my little girl earlier. It's one of the few times where the Rangers came so very close to losing.
Yeah.
Like most other seasons, you see it and they're in a tough spot, and you think, oh, I don't know how they can pull this off. But then something happens and they turn it around. But
Yeah.
Mystic Force, the Rangers were beaten, and it was only when everyone came together, and then the Mystic Mother stepped in, who was the reformed
Yes.
Rita Repulsa, that turned it
Yes.
all around and gave them the victory.
Ah.
So I thought it was a very good season. I really enjoyed the different dynamic that it brought to the show after years of sci-fi.
So
Just
basically, what you're saying is at
hint
the
of
end.
magical fantasy was nice.
So you said at the end, Rita came in and was like sparkling all of her pixie dust, fixed everything, going, "Sorry guys, sorry for what I did before. Sorry
Basically,
about that.
yeah.
I was having a bad day."
Listen, I woke up, I had bad hair, hit the wall, said had cheated on me with someone else, I think Divatox or something.
Yeah.
I just lost it.
Yeah. You left me with a golden monkey.
So we'll move on then to our number one picks after all that. So Josh, you can go first. What is
So
number one pick?
my number one is only a recent thing after rewatching it after a while, and it's Jungle Fury.
Okay.
For a start, I'll say the reason I love it is because the Rangers side of it isn't natural in a way, if that makes sense. Like they start off in the Paishwa Academy, which is an academy also known as the Order of the Claw, where the Rangers, well, they weren't even Rangers at the time, where the students were training.
Weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, they were trainees training in Kung Fu to defend the world in case an ancient evil called Daishi broke free from his box that was in a cave in the training facility. Obviously, they set it up so this happens after the main character Casey, the Red Ranger. He is just a cub, which is basically a very very early student in it, and he annoys the guy that becomes the main evil guy, Jared. And then Casey gets chosen to be a protector over Jared. And then they go get then their place.
First day.
Yeah, it was his first week.
Yeah.
And then yeah, they get taken to, well, basically the whole training thing goes under because they got attacked by the evil spirit. And when they go to Ocean Bluff, which is where the whole thing takes place, they meet RJ, who is just
Whoa.
yeah, basically he's basically a stoner. but he's
I'll
also
go into a
then
cool uncle that used to come around and go, "Here's a tenner. Don't tell your dad why, because it
stole it from him, yeah.
is."
And yeah, he's like, and the way he does it, it's like he realizes they're protectors. But the part I'm getting to where the Ranger part isn't natural is that he says, you know, I made you these. These like aren't part of the Paishwa Academy. I made these for you. Like I got a friend of a friend of a cousin of a friend to make these, who I still think is Tommy, to make these solar morphers for you. He's like, have you ever heard the Power Rangers? Well, you are them, sort of thing. It's like it's not something natural to the series. It's it's all based on animal spirits, so every person has an animal spirit. And it's used to link those animal spirits to the morphin grid and go from there. And the theme of it being trying to defeat an ancient evil, who at the time, the ancient evil in the show isn't the only evil in the show. Like, he often gets outclassed by many other ancient evils and then comes back to take his role as the ancient evil over and over again, sort of thing. Sort of like how in Dragon Ball, one guy gets stronger, then someone else gets stronger than him, and he meets someone else, and so on and so forth. And it just goes on like that until the end, and it's just the suits are cool as well. Is another reason I love it. One of the other main reasons I love
I
it.
thought the suits were a bit bland.
Considering what they were trying to do with the suits, like make it a sort of a proper, like it's sort of like supposed to be sort of like a cat suit kind of thing. Because the three rangers that they were designed on, it was a jaguar, a cheetah, and a tiger.
Yeah.
And then also later on, we had one that was for a rhino, and it looked more like that, that type of. It
Yeah,
was
I
very
guess a
martial
bit.
arts and
Yeah.
catsuit inspired. It was very good.
But then it did give us the Purple Ranger for the first time, and that's pretty cool.
It gave us the Violet Wolf Ranger and RJ, yes, and that was great because the episodes leading up to it, he turns into a very funny looking werewolf. And then we also get the Rhino Ranger, which is the White Ranger, but yeah, no, the fight scenes in it are good. They use that the fight scenes are very more kung fu orientated. So, in a way, it looks like a kid's version of a kung fu movie, which I enjoyed. The opening theme song is probably the most upbeat and enjoyable of all Power Rangers for me. And the fact that they don't make the focus entirely on being a ranger, they make it focus more on their Paishwa training than they do being a ranger. Because they implement other trainers, like, you get the shark trainer who teaches the Red Ranger how to use the shark blades, but it's nothing to do with being a ranger. You get the guy who teaches them how to use the swoop technique, which is basically levitating, and the guy who teaches them how to use the elephant mace and this, that, and the other. It's all very much based on animal spirits, but it isn't so much based on being a ranger. It's more that the ranger power is just a tool rather than the main focus.
An extension.
So yeah, it's an extension of more of what they are than anything else. So yeah, it's a very different series in that way, and yeah, I just enjoyed it very much. It was, I feel it. I don't know. I can't really complain about it. I just did feel a little bit that it started to dip when they introduced the fifth Ranger, but it picked up very quickly after that because they matched the pace of the storyline to go on to it. Because they basically introduced two new Rangers within 5 episodes, so it was very quick in that thing. But after that, because I started to lose hope for about that, but then they really matched the storyline up and continued the power progression of the evil main character as well towards the end. So yeah, it was just, I would probably say there are probably some things wrong with it, but I'm happy to overlook them to say it's probably at this moment in time my favorite series.
Yeah, it's a strong choice. Jungle Fury
It's
was one
yeah.
of the good ones. It's not in my personal top 5, but it was good. I have seen
I
it.
would like to also add in at the end though, if anyone is from Hasbro is listening, please hurry up and give us Jungle Fury Lightning Collection figures because there are none so far for Jungle Fury. Nothing, nada, zilch, zero. When are we going to give Jason Smith his dream of having the Red Ranger Casey figure?
Make it happen, Hasbro. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Listen to these two people that are very new to this and make it happen.
Hey, we might be new to this, but we're not new to the YouTube world.
No.
So we'll come on now to my number 1 pick, and yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. It's the original season, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I knew
How
that was
can you
coming.
not love what started this whole thing? You know, it's an absolute travesty to not, in my opinion.
Indeed. I
For
mean,
me
I agree.
personally,
You should definitely love what started this whole thing. Everyone should love Spider-Man.
let's not get into that.
No, we're not going into that today, but it is true.
Let's not get into the emissary of hell.
We don't speak of the emissary of hell, Spider-Man.
Spider Stream. But yeah, for me, the original season or the original series will always be the best because
Yeah.
it's what kickstarted the whole love affair for me. It was the fact that, and you know, I feel like obviously, I'm sure he feels it as well, but the success that the Power Rangers franchise has had is vindication behind Saban and anyone else that was initially involved at the start when they thought, hey, we saw this thing in Japan, it could be really cool for kids here in the West and we want to go with it. And everyone shot them down saying, it'll never work. It will never happen. It's too violent. It's this, it's that, it's the other.
Yeah.
30 years down the line, we still have Power Rangers on TV. We now have comics orientated towards the adults based on the original series.
Yeah, we got video games as well.
Yeah, we've got video games. We've got the original cast members coming back for now and again for appearances, coming back for the Netflix special. I have literally all of them on my wall.
Yeah.
We've got Billy right here, you know, doing his thing. So for me, like the original Rangers are always going to be the best ones, and it's always going to be the best season, the best part of the show, because
Yeah.
what started everything, you know. Now that's not to say it didn't have its issues. I could tell right away, even as a 10-year-old boy, that the fight footage was different to the American footage.
Well, it was a lot more like it was a lot more blurry, and the suits were way shinier, weren't they?
Grainy, shiny. You could tell.
Yeah.
You could see a lot of stuff that just didn't fit with what was happening. But as a 10-year-old, although you noticed it,
You didn't care.
yeah, you didn't.
No.
How could you when you were watching these, you know,
Basically just superheroes
kicking ass?
Yeah.
You know, trying to save the world. At the end of the day, that's what it all came down to. And the
Yeah.
fact that we got 3 seasons of that, like over 100 episodes, and not just that, but every week it taught you a new lesson. That was a key consistency of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And the Rangers were always in a position where you learned a lesson from it. Oh, I really shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry, you know. And you learn with them as they progress. Now, again, like I say, there were issues. Personally, as much as I love Tommy and as much as I love the Green and White Ranger, I think it was a bit wrong to bring in the White Ranger from a different season.
Yeah, that made things a little bit more difficult from bringing them from the Squadron Rangers.
You look back at it now, and you look at the suits that they've got. You can tell that it's completely different.
Oh yeah,
and it kind of doesn't tie in.
No,
but
it doesn't really fit.
Again, we're going back to like what 1995, 1996,
1993.
Yeah. So Saban had to make something work, and he made it work. And
yeah,
it obviously worked because we were still talking about it 30 years down the line.
It just now makes you think that all the times you saw the White Ranger facing off against enemies, he was alone a lot of the time.
Yeah. And the times you saw him with the other Rangers, you knew it was American footage because
exactly, because it wasn't as shiny, and it was clearer.
But another thing is that I feel like we were robbed of those awesome Squadron suits because they were amazing. I loved them.
They were pretty cool, yeah. I mean,
they were really cool.
I wouldn't personally say. You what? Sorry.
I think they made a brief appearance in Super Mega Force.
Yes, they did.
Randomly, like, oh, you've unlocked suits that have never been seen before.
Yeah,
they fought for like half a scene in that, but
yeah,
you know, I just feel like, as much as I loved it, I felt that was a little bit of a detraction, not enough to deter it from me being my top pick.
The problem is using the Squadron Ranger suits in the same for Mighty Morphin would have been difficult
because the White Ranger was a child. I'm completely aware of why.
No, because Squadron Ranger didn't have a Black Ranger; they had a Green Ranger, so you would have had to have had 2 Green Rangers.
Well, that's why they brought the White Ranger in, wasn't it? But
yeah, in the Squadron Rangers, but in the original
if they just adapted the Squadron footage, it could have been done. But
they could have done, yeah.
Either way, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the biggest detraction for me at all. It wasn't a big problem. Simple as that. So yeah, for me, the original Mighty Morphin trumps them all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it set a good precedent for them all, but I definitely think there have been better seasons after. I think there is a case of saying it is very much rose-tinted glasses.
Hey, to quote a friend
Um,
of ours, I never claim to be unbiased.
no, of course not. I mean, that's a fair point, but it's also a thing of like, I look back on it now, and you remember I did that little rewatch a while ago,
Oh, I remember it
and
vividly.
I'll be honest,
I've still got all the messages.
I couldn't really finish it. Like it was like the overacting was the worst in that series, in my opinion.
Yeah, but in the
Um,
90s, that was just a thing.
I
We got
know,
very different
I
things.
know, but
Also,
it was just
let's
so
also not
bad.
forget that Walter Jones had half a finger missing and no one ever noticed.
It's because the footage was so blurry.
We just never noticed that he had half a finger missing, and he didn't let us.
No,
You know, the guy's a legend. So that about wraps it up from us. Thanks for watching our very first Heavy Rangers video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and will want to see more content from us on this. Drop us a line in the comments if you've got any feedback or any ideas for what you'd like to see us do in the future. Thanks for watching, and as ever, may the power protect you always.